Hello everybody, welcome to my RC plane channel. I'm James, and this video is an introduction to a new playlist or a new video series that I'm going to do on gas engines. Now specifically, if you looked at my title, you know that I put I Learned Gas Engines. And the reason that is because I know very little about them. I haven't used them for RC planes. I've always used, glow engines. I started using glow engines when I was younger, and I just kind of continue doing that throughout the years. But, recently I thought, you know what, I'm going to try out gas engines. They look like they're pretty cool. And I know that they've been around for quite some time. So if you know about gas engines and have been flying them, then you know a whole heck of a lot more than I do. But I thought, what I would do in this series is just kind of go along and learn about them and kind of share that with you. And if you haven't run gas engines and you're thinking about using them also, then maybe this little series will be helpful, or at least maybe a little bit interesting. Okay, well, to start with, if you've been watching my channel or you know a little bit about me, I like to look on eBay for things. Now, this is not an advertisement for eBay, but sometimes you can get some good deals. So I started looking around for something, and like for a gas engine, and I came across this, which I purchased, which is a DLE-20 cc rear exhaust gas engine. Now, I'm not sure if it's been run or not. The listing wasn't clear. It's been open, so it's an open box, and I'm not sure if everything's in here that would come with the original packaging. So we'll take a look in that. We'll take a look and see. But the engine looked like it was pretty good to me, and I think it does. To me, it looks like it hasn't been run. So we'll check it out and see. So that's kind of the reason I just got a used one, or one that I thought was, may have been open, is just because this is the first time I'm using gas engines, and I thought a good way to kind of get into it is maybe save a little money and just go for something that was either used or something like a purchase like this, which has been open. It's just not as expensive as buying a brand new one. All right, so I also purchased, or I have been purchasing, some accessories. Now, oops, these guys right here. And I'll show you what I have in these boxes in a few minutes also. And I also have some other things coming along. So as I'm learning this, and as I kind of knew already, is that being a gas engine, it's different. It's obviously a different chemical makeup or different chemistry than a glow engine. So a lot of the parts and the accessories and things are going to be a lot different than what you would use with a glow engine. So again, I'm kind of learning this as I go. All right, and also, I'm not going to stop using my 2-stroke or my 4-stroke glow engines. I am going to still be running those. I'm just going to use those probably on my smaller size airplanes, things like the 40 class and smaller. So, something like this, this OS-46AX2, that's about as big as I think I'm going to go with a glow engine these days. I'm going to transition over to gas engines for like the bigger builds and the bigger classes, like 60 and above. Okay, well, besides the fact that, gas engines are pretty cool and it's something else for me to learn about and tinker with, which I like doing. I like engines. I like the glow engines, and now I'm going to be using the gas engines. There's a few things that I've been thinking about that are the reason why I kind of want to transition to gas engines for my bigger planes. Now, I'm not a genius, but probably one of the biggest reasons is the cost. So if you look at something like a gallon of glow fuel right now, this stuff is going to cost over $30 a gallon compared to regular gasoline or premium gasoline, which right now, sort of like in the Southern California area where I live, it's hovering around $5 a gallon for the premium. If you go to regular, it's going to be less than that. So if you throw in a couple ounces of the 2-cycle oil, which I think is maybe $3 or $4 for 2 ounces, and I've seen 8 ounces for like $7. So that's only like $1 an ounce. If you throw in the 2-cycle oil and you come up with your own mixture, you're talking less than $10 for a gallon of fuel. So that means you can pretty much fly about 3 times as long using a gas engine for the same size type of engine using glow fuel. All right, now the other thing that I've kind of experienced recently is that glow fuel isn't always easy to get. My local hobby shop usually has it. Sometimes they don't have it. When I go down there, they don't have it in stock, and I've had to drive. One time I had to drive pretty far to grab some. And unlike glow fuel, you can go up to your local gas station, obviously, and fuel up pretty quickly, and it's pretty much available almost anywhere. So there's a convenience thing there. Okay, and then like maybe one more thing to talk about is the fact that if you run glow engines, you know that a 2-cycle or 4-cycle glow engine produces a lot of oil, kind of oily residue that gets on your plane. Now, to me, that's not the end of the world. I've been dealing with that forever. You got to wipe it down after each time you go flying. But with a gas-powered engine, you have a lot less residue. I'm not sure if we have any residue on it, to be honest. But again, it's a lot sort of cleaner to run a gas engine in terms of keeping your airplane clean. But anyhow, so I'm not going to go over all the different things, and I'm going to learn some more as we go. But I thought I'd just mention a few of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look and see what's inside. So one thing is, you know, DLE is made in China, and I know these engines have been around for quite some time, and I think they're pretty popular. So I think it's a good quality engine. And let's go ahead and open up the box here. Okay. Okay, well there we go. Let me see. I'm just going to pull everything out of here and we'll look at everything separately. There's a muffler. Okay. Yeah, I mean that is a brand new engine. Okay. Beautiful. And to kind of give you an idea of how big it is, if you haven't seen one of these. And again, I know that there's a lot of people out there running these things, so it's nothing new to people familiar with gas engines and larger engines. But this is an OS FP 60, and this is an 20cc, which is about the equivalent to a 1.2. So it's pretty much about twice as big of displacement as this one. Okay, let me get this guy out of the way. All right, so here is the engine. And again, I don't know much about them, and I'm not going to try to go over everything right now. I just want to kind of inspect what I got here. But it really is a beautiful, clean engine. Looks like it's very well made. I really like this a lot. It's got a nice gas carburetor back here. It's got a choke. Okay, and this is the pickup, I think, for the tachometer and the ignition, I should say. Okay, I guess, of course, one thing that's different from a gas engine compared to a glow engine is that you have to have an external ignition or electronic ignition system for it. And that's what this is right here. So this is the electronic ignition. Very cool. It's got a bunch of leads coming off of here. Here, of course, obviously is the muffler. And inside here, these are muffler extensions. So these go on here, and you can clip them on with those. That looks like the spark plug. Obviously, it's not a glow plug; it's a spark plug, just like you'd expect. And there's a couple accessories in here. I think these cover the wires to help protect them. And there's another little lead here, so we'll have to see what that's about. And here's a little spring. Okay. All right, then over here is, and I notice there's one thing that's not in here, is the instruction manual. So let's see what's in this little package right here. Looks like it's just a set of sticker. That's cool. And then something about the exhaust. Okay. Okay, so that's about what came in the kit, or in the box I should say. And now what we'll do is I did obtain a copy of the instructions here, and I thought what I would do is kind of go over these, just kind of look at them here kind of briefly. Wow, that's a really nice looking engine. Okay, so set these parts kind of off a little bit here. Nice. Okay. It looks like there's a little gasket in here. There's the control arm for the throttle, it looks like. And there's 2 screws in there for the exhaust or the muffler. Not sure what the spring is, but we'll figure that out in just a few seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the instructions now. And as I mentioned, I do have some other accessories that I've purchased, and I'll mention those in a few minutes here. Okay. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of see these give you some of the specifications for this particular engine. So it's got a 20 cc displacement, which is the same, like I said, as a 1.2 cubic inch. It's got 2.5 horsepower at 9,000 RPMs. Idle speed is 1,700 RPMs. Electronic ignition, or electric ignition, I should say. Recommended propellers, 1410 all the way up to like 17.6. I don't have a propeller yet, so I purchased one. I think I ordered the 1410 or the 15.8, somewhere in there. Spark plug type is a CM6. Then there, of course, they have these gap settings. So it looks like you'll have to adjust the spark plug gap with your feeler gauges. Then some information here, diameter and stroke. I guess it's a 1.2 inches, okay, by 1 inch stroke, okay. Compression ratio 10.5 to 1. Carburetor is a DLE with manual choke, and then the weight of the engine is 1.7 pounds. Wow. 660 grams. Muffler is 2.8 ounces. The ignition is 4.6 ounces. So it is one thing also to compared to a glow engine, is that you do add more weight, relatively speaking, because you have to have that electronic ignition, or the electric ignition, and which also requires usually another battery. And then here it has the fuel, which says 87 and 93 octane, with a 31 ratio for the 2-stroke oil, which we'll talk about later. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and go through the manual kind of just briefly. It's just sort of a little introduction. I know, again, I'm going to get into this whole thing in a lot more detail later. But let me hold on one second. Let me grab something here. Okay, let's just take a quick look at this. Got my highlighter for point out a few things. Okay, so it gives you like the parts list. Again, it looks like I got everything that was supposed to come with it except the instructions. Safety tips. So one thing I have noticed is that there's not a whole heck of a lot in break-in instructions. It talks about a break-in period, but it doesn't have the same type of procedures that I've seen so far with a glow engine. Usually glow engines have a pretty detailed break-in procedure, whether it's a 2-stroke or 4-stroke engine. So far I haven't seen a whole heck of a lot about break-in, other than it takes a certain amount of time for the engine to break in, but not that you do something specifically to break it in. But I will confirm that. Of course, there's just a lot of just safety instructions and stuff. Okay. Here it's recommending, again, the 93% octane. It says 87 is cool. Then there's the gas to oil mixture ratio, 30 to 1. And we'll get into all that later. And there's just some of the setup. So what I'll do is, once I get to, I'm not going to do it in this video, but when I start setting up the engine, I'll go through all this as I go. All right, so here's one thing I did want to point out now, is that you can obtain a kill switch for the engine if you would like. I guess you don't have to use it, but a kill switch is probably pretty convenient. And obviously it works with the electric ignition. And I did purchase one of those. And you can also use a hook a tachometer straight to it. And I also purchased one of those. So we'll be using those eventually. I won't be using the kill switch now because I'm just going to be setting this up on a test stand. But anyhow. Alright, so it just goes through. I'm not going to read all this, but it just tells you how to set up. The fuel is going to be set up a little bit differently than a glow fuel will be. The fuel tank, I should say. Here's some information about the choke and a separate choke servo. It's kind of going into all that stuff. Manual starting. I guess you can start with manually using like a safety stick or something, or again with a electric starter, which is what I'll be using. Okay, so yeah, so what I did notice in my my looking so far is there's not a heck of a lot about like a break-in, like I just mentioned. It just basically says a break-in period, and it talks about, if I can find it here, talks about how much fuel you would run through it during the break-in period. But okay, all right, so it has a lot of other details that I will get into later. Here's some of the dimensions. Here's a blow-up of the engine parts, or the engine itself. And here's a list of a bunch of parts if you need to replace them. Some notes. Yeah, so that's about it for the instructions. I did think yeah, so it says right here, break-in should be considered about the first 3 to 5 gallons you run through the engine. Okay. So I guess after you run about 3 to 5 gallons through the engine, it should be broken in. Okay, so let me show you a few other things that I purchased, sort of the accessories here. So I did get myself a gas tank. This is only a 12-ounce tank, and I've ordered the fuel line for it, which is going to be, it's not going to be that silicone, it's going to be, what is it called, Tygon, I think it's what it's called. Got this is the kill switch, which eventually I'll hook up when I hook it up to a plane. I'll use this kill switch. Got it for only $17, that's pretty good. And then what else I get? Oop, and what's this? Oh yeah, and this is the tachometer that I purchased for it. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of what I have right now. And as I mentioned, I have some fuel line coming, and I have a couple of props coming in on order. And then I'm also going to have to build a gas tank, like a filling station or a filling tank for the gas. So I did purchase a hand pump, and I'm gonna go up to Home Depot. I'm gonna buy a gas tank, and a gas can, I should say, and I'm just gonna go ahead and build my own. So what I'm gonna do in my next video of this little series is I'm gonna get all this stuff taken out of the packages, and we're gonna go ahead and get it set up on a test stand, and we're gonna run it. Now, where am I going with this? So one of the reasons I got the 20cc is because of this plane over here. So this is my Great Plains Revolver 60. And I've noticed that a lot of people power it with the DLE-20. So what's in here right now is a Sato 90, I think it's a 91 4-stroke. As you can kind of see, kind of hidden in the cowl there. So I thought what I would do is I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to replace it with this new engine. And this is going to be sort of like my test bed to run the new DLE-20 on. As I mentioned previously, this is all new to me, running gas engines on RC planes. So bear with me through this little video series. Now, if you haven't run gas engines like me, and you've kind of been used to running glow engines or running electric motors, and you're thinking about maybe you want to get into gas engines, then hopefully this will be a little bit entertaining or maybe useful for you. If you've been running these engines for for a long time and you have a lot of experience with them, then you're going to see obviously that I'm a novice with this, but go ahead and give me some comments, and maybe I can learn some stuff from you guys as well. Okay, so that's going to be about it for this video. I, like always appreciate it, and appreciate all the viewers and the comments, and we will see you next time.